Warning! This game contains content that might not be suitable for most audiences. Viewers' discretion is advised. The afternoon sun was high, and despite the canopy of green overhead, it still beats down on me with that familiar summer heat. It would be enjoyable were I not dragging every bit of luggage to my name by hand on an ill-kept dirt road. Admittedly, it was still gorgeous out. I felt reassured as I reminded myself what lay at the end of this godforsaken trail. I landed position as a counselor in training at Camp Crystal Lake, doing most of that dirty work, cleaning up after kids, washing dishes, etc. It'll be fun, I tell myself. It was a chance to get out, see some nature. I'd spoken briefly with one of the owners of the camp when I called about a position, an older woman who said she owned the place and ran it with her son. I wondered how much of this land they actually owned, seeing just how expansive it was now. I was in the dead center of it all. I found it hard to believe they could afford the upkeep of such a large piece of land on summer camp profits alone, especially one this far down a dirt road. Wait, where is the road? Oh no, where am I? Oh, this is a little too much nature. Before I realized it, I made a couple of wrong steps off the beaten path straight into an unfamiliar territory, a thicket so vast I could barely see the light of day. I tried to turn around and retrace my steps back towards the path, but it's as if they had vanished, blending in with the rest of this unnavigable forest. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still remember the direction I'm supposed to be headed, so I start walking again, not trudging through thick kudzu with my heavy bags in tow. The more I walked, the woods just seemed to get deeper and deeper. It was almost eerie how quiet it was out here. Being immersed in nature is one thing, but it felt like I was the only living, breathing thing for miles. After a few minutes of treading alone, my ears caught a sound, a thumping noise, somewhere off in the distance. It was almost rhythmic, like chopping. I picked up the pace, stepping it towards the direction I thought I heard the sound coming from. I followed the sound as it got louder and louder, and just in the distance, I could make out a figure. I could just barely see them past the trees, but it was distinctly a person. I maneuvered past some downed logs and tree stumps to try and get close enough to see them, and for them to see me. They seemed to have their back turned. Hello? The man perked up, turning to face me. I stood like a deer in headlights, taken aback by his appearance. He was massive, a lumbering man draped in heavy clothing that felt unnatural for this kind of heat. He donned an unsettling, tattered mask on his face and stared unnervingly through me with unseen eyes. He turned his body completely to look at me, looming over me like a shadow. That was when I saw it, the axe in his hand. There was a beat of silence, then he moved towards me. In a panic, I dropped my bags and made a break for it. I ran blind deeper into the woods, putting as much distance between myself and that thing as I possibly could. Just as I began to feel safe, a thick root jutting out of the ground caught my foot and launched me into the dirt. The wind was completely knocked out of me, and I heaved as I attempted to sit up quicker than my body would allow. Before I could pick myself back up, there he was, somehow right behind me, looming over me like a bear. His chest rises and falls with slow, deep breaths as he stares silently at me. My body feels like ice, not even breathing anymore. The air is caught in my throat. I'm sure I'm going to die. The figure lurched forward, and I instinctively brought my hands up to shield myself from what was to come. But nothing came. Anxiously, I opened my eyes to find that the man is now crouched down, offering me a hand. He isn't chopping me up with an axe or stringing me up by the neck. He's just trying to help me up. I take his hand cautiously, and before I can protest, he places another strong hand around my arm to support me as I stand. He must have seen how badly I ate it and assumed my leg might not feel great after such a wipeout. He brushed off my shoulders too, dusty off the dirt that I coated my arms. Nothing felt broken, but I was definitely bruised from the fall. He brings his hands to his chest, beginning to sign. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. You dropped your bags. I see now that he has my backpack slung over his shoulder and my suitcase sitting at his feet. He had time to follow me and grab my heavy bags? Jesus! Are you looking for the campgrounds? I realized he was talking to me in ASL, so I began to sign back to him. Yeah, actually, do you know where they are? He nodded, picking up my suitcase and motioning for me to follow him. Silence flowed between the man and I as I found myself staring at his back. His strides were long and well experienced with the terrain, while I still felt myself catch on uneven ground. I hurried my pace to match his, the quiet of the forest creeping back up my spine as my bruises began to ache dully. So, I paused, hoping to break the awkward feeling building within my chest. Do people often get lost, or am I a special case? The man's head tilted in my direction, his eyes catching on mine through the hollow holes of his old, worn hockey mask as he shook his head no when he caught sight of my offered hand, willing to take my bags. It happens. Luckily, you ran into me. Also luckily, I also ran into the ground. I smiled, ignoring the discomfort of my embarrassment as I pushed the conversation forward. It could be easy to lose yourself here, intentionally, I mean. A low chuckle response comes from my woodsy savior, and I can't help but to brighten as the smile tugs against my cheeks. It's a sound I just couldn't help but to beam at. Sorry again for scaring you. Don't worry about it. It really wasn't your fault. I mean, he is a giant, masked, axe-wielding man alone in the middle of the woods. He's not exactly the most approachable figure. It was mostly the axe. What were you doing out there anyway? Chopping wood for our campers to carve later, for making fires as well. Well, that made sense. See a man out of the wood with an axe? Think firewood, not maniac. After a few minutes of correcting my poor navigation, we finally made it to the campgrounds. It's a bit surreal how different it is from the deep woods. The campgrounds are so full of life. Kids playing and running around. From the center of the grounds, you can really get a good look at the lake. It really is beautiful out here. In this light, you can get a much better look at a man. He is still massive. Lighting didn't really change that, but he definitely doesn't look as menacing now. He sets my bags down and turns to look at me. Just because he doesn't look menacing doesn't mean he isn't still intimidating. Are you one of the new counselors? Yeah, I am. Your cabin is back there. Feel free to get settled. We can start your training first thing tomorrow. Did he say training? Do you work here? He nodded. My name is Jason Vorheez. Oh, what an odd line of work for someone of his demeanor. Also, how do you sign Jason Vorheez? How is that possible? Wait, is this his son, Mrs. Vorheez, mentioned on the phone? I felt an immediate hot wash of embarrassment. It's not a great first impression to run in fear from a new employer. I should introduce myself too. My name's Lion. Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Lion. It's nice to meet you too, Lion. I can almost hear the warmth in his signed words, how genuinely happy he is to make conversation. It softens those edges a bit. A noise catches Jason's attention, pulling him away from the conversation. I have to get going. If you need anything, I'll be around. See you in the morning, Lion. With that, he was gone, wandering off somewhere across the campsite. I picked up my bags and headed towards the cabin, relieved that I was a minute away from a well-deserved nap. I trudged down the path, watching the cabin emerge from the cover of the trees. Counselors were hanging around the cabin's porch, talking amongst themselves and getting their room assignments. Yo! A voice called out to me. Yeah, you! Come over here! I need to get you signed in. I turned to see a couple of counselors, a guy who looks a bit older than me, and a girl who probably looks around the same age as me. My god, why is everyone hot? Sorry, I didn't realize. My name's Lion. Yeah, my name's Kevin. I'm in charge around here, so you can come to me if you have any issues. You got it? Okay. Kevin looks up and down his list before giving me a passive, unimpressed glance. Yep, you're on here, right? Fern, show Lion around the cabin, would you? Everyone's hot! The girl perked up and nodded. Sure, follow me, Lion. I'll show you to your rooms. I gave Kevin a thank you nod, but he was already talking to the next counselor on the list. I followed Fern inside and was immediately welcomed by the cozy air of the traditional wood cabin. Fern led me to my room and gestured for me to head inside. Alrighty, make yourself at home and I'll be by to get you later for dinner. See you in a bit. We exchanged a wave as Fern hurried back out to greet the other incoming counselors. I sat my luggage down and made a beeline for the bed. Unpacking could wait. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I kicked off my shoes, only now realizing just how sore my feet were from the walk here. I fell back on the bed, climbing under the neatly made kilt. It wasn't long after my head hit the pillow that was drifting off. The morning sun bathes Camp Crystal Lake in a pastel wash. I go about making coffee and some toast before what is sure to be a busy day. All the walking from yesterday had caught up with me. It was as if my legs were screaming at me just to go to bed. I have to get used to it if I'm going to be doing stuff like this for the rest of the summer. I'm helping the other counselors set up in preparation for the campers today. My toast pops up from the toaster and I drag my feet to the kitchen table. I bite into my toast and sip my coffee, still feeling the early morning drunkenness as I'm on my last bite of toast. Here comes a knock at the screen door. I scarf it down and pad down the hallway, seeing a large silhouette at the door. I open it up to see Jason standing there. impossibly tall and muscular. His clothes are still tight against his huge frame, and I can practically feel the power that radiates from him as his broad chest lightly follows his breath. Seeing Jason almost instantly puts a smile to my face. My screaming legs finally shut up from being blessed by his mere presence, the absolute presence of Jason's power. Hey Jason, what brings you here? Good morning, Lion. I know you're going to join the other counselors since heading up today, but I could really use the help, if it's okay with you. The campers are going to arrive soon, so this place needs to be in working order. Think you're up for it? If you want, that is. I can tell Jason is a little shy. It's strange seeing such a huge and impressive man act like that, but honestly, I think it's adorable. I can't help but feel a wide grin grow on my face. Well, of course. That sounds great. Come on in. I'm just finishing up my morning routine. Jason follows me inside, ducking a bit to get under the door frame. I'm going to get changed. I'll be right back. Just wait right here. Jason nods and does what he's told. My heart pounds with excitement in my ears as I head upstairs to change out my PJs and into my day clothes. He wants me to go with him? After I brush my teeth, I splash my face with water and take one last look in the mirror. Then I head downstairs back to him. Ready, Lion? I smile and give him a nod, patting my hand on his broad shoulder. Sorry, I just wanted to mush my face into Jason's, just mush my face directly into his tremendous, huge power. That's what I want. I just want to feel up Jason's. Oh, God. We head out the door together and walk side by side to the activities area. Our first job is to haul the kayaks to their proper racks. I watch in disbelief as Jason saunters by with two of them in tow. I'm struggling with just one. Cheater! I watch Jason's shoulders shake in laughter. He helps to drag the kayak I'm battling and lifts it into its appropriate slot. He's so incredible. He's barely even breaking a sweat. It's back-breaking work, but we're able to get it done in record time thanks to Jason's raw strength. Next, we set up the archery range. Jason and I prepare the lane, set out the targets, and count out the supplies. I bundle them together, 3 arrows and 1 finger tab for each camper. Jason restrings each bow and tests them to make sure they're taut and firm. With this station, all that matters is safety. Make sure the kids, and the counselors for that matter, only points their bows downrange when it is their turn to fire. You wouldn't believe how many people almost put someone else's eyes out because their mind isn't on safety. I can imagine. Right, no accidents on my watch. I'll make sure each and every lane is clear of debris, and in no time, we're finished up at the archery range. Next, we go to the woodcutting area. I watch in awe as Jason yanks a huge axe out of the stump and in one deft motion, taps it back over his shoulder before bringing it back down onto the block of wood resting on the stump. The wood block snaps in two. I stare as he repeats the process a few more times before turning to me, chest heaving and sweat glistening on his skin. My face heats up at the holy sight. He pulls out a knife from his back pocket and begins chipping away at one of the split logs. He doesn't even need to look at what he's doing. Want to give it a try? Me? Jason chuckles, and the sound is absolutely delightful. God, Jason is just... he's so... Stop it, Lion! Focus! Yeah, you. Here, I have an extra carving knife. Alright, here goes nothing. What should I make? Bear, mass, a heart? I'm gonna make him a little heart, because why not? I feel like Jason might appreciate a little heart. I attempt to carve matching heart charms for Jason and I to wear and string him with some twine I had in my pocket. Oh wow, Lion. You should make this... What is that face? What is that freaking face? Oh no! Yep, and I made a second one. Look, we match! A gesture for Jason to bend down so I can clasp the necklace and then my own. Jason stands, turning the heart charm over and over in his hands. So, what do you think? I can't help but giggle a bit at how Jason stumbles over signing his words, getting smaller and shy in his gestures. I love it. This is really special. I appreciate you making it for me. Anytime, Jason. Glad you like it. Well, you must be ready for a break now. So hot out here. Let's go stock up the freezers. That'll cool us down. I sincerely doubt that statement as I watch Jason lift his shirt to dab the sweat on his neck, exposing his muscular stump. Do we not get a CG of Jason showing off his huge honkers? Like, I want Jason honkers, please. I need more Bara honkers in my life. God. I follow Jason to the camp kitchen where we stock the camp's freezers and pantries with food, enjoying the cool air surrounding us. Yoo-hoo! Jason, Lion, would you mind helping me prepare dinner? I am so sorry. I am so sorry for, like, Mrs. Vorheez here. Of course, Mother. Absolutely. Happy to help, Mrs. Vorheez. Oh, please, dear. Call me Pamela. Jason and I help Pamela chop vegetables for salad and man the grills and ovens, which are lined with barbecued meats and aluminum-wrapped potatoes, respectively. My, Jason has you quite busy today. Oh, yeah, but, it's been great. I feel like I've learned a lot. You did great today. There shouldn't be much more to do here before the campers arrive. I love to hear it, my dearies. You've taken a hard work on my hands. I'm so grateful. The dining hall fills with counselors, and Pamela lets us pick our food first. She stands on her tiptoes to whisper something in Jason's ears. He bends down to hear her. Their eyes flicker to me briefly, and I shift from one foot to the other. Jason waves to his mother as they part ways, and he rejoins me. Do you want to eat with me? I actually have questions for you. Sure, I'd love to. We pile our plates high with hot food. Jason leads us over the log fire to eat. We eat together, and I can barely contain my excitement at being able to spend so much time with him. So I've been thinking, I know you were supposed to take a camping trip with the other counselors, but I was wondering if you wanted to go with me and the kids. If not, I understand. It's last minute at all. I screech in delight in my mind, but give Jason a gentle smile. Jason, it would make me really happy to go with you. Really? That's great. My mother agreed to take your place with the other counselors. This really means a lot to me. I studied his masked face, his eyes lit up and bright in the firelight. I can hardly contain my own excitement. He must really like spending time with me. I'll come get you tomorrow morning, and we can head out. That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. We finish eating and throw our paper plates into the garbage. Our eyes meet, and I shuffle from one foot to the other. I'll walk you back to your cabin. The night air is sweet, with honeysuckle, as we trek back to our cabins. I love it here. You can see the stars so well. Where I'm from, you never get this kind of visibility. Yeah, me too. It's really beautiful. I notice Jason shove his hands into his coat pockets, and I swear I see a hint of flush paint his neck in a sliver of moonlight. Well, here's my stop. Ah, yes. Well, thanks for helping me out. I enjoyed spending time with you today. Anytime. Yeah, I did too. I start up the stairs and turn to wave to Jason. See you in the morning, Jason. Good night, Lion. Don't let the bedbugs bite. I smile and nod my head at him before closing the door and happily trotting to my bed. I stand next to the bed and fall backwards on top of it, letting out a sigh. I'm so lucky. I get to hang out with Jason again tomorrow. Thank you, Pamela, for covering for me. I grab the matching heart necklace I carved earlier and stare at it, feeling my face burn up. I can't believe I made something like this for the both of us. It's like something a couple would do. Maybe I was too forward with it. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. After all, he didn't want to hang out with me again tomorrow. My eyes grow heavier to the point where I can barely keep them open. Jason and I did so much work today. I feel so exhausted. I search for the covers with my legs and pull them over myself. Before I knew it, I started to drift to sleep. It's now been a few days since I arrived at the camp, and they have been nothing short of tedious. Learning everything from preparing the finest crustless peanut butter and jellies to being able to help perfect the ultimate tent pitching technique. It's something of a thankless job, I've come to realize, but there are parts of it I've found quite rewarding. Though my initial encounter with a large looming camp counselor was a shaky start, every moment since then had been one of genuine enjoyment. I find myself stealing glances and hidden coy smiles when I watch him work alongside me. Before, I might have died of embarrassment anytime his chest touched my back trying to adjust my hold on tools or equipment, or hid from sight when he had to put out a stub fire because I wasn't paying complete attention to the food. Of course, now that I've had plenty of time to allow him to be my teacher and show me the ropes, being a quick learner has only come to benefit me and let me get a little closer to my new head counselor. There's something about him that gives me butterflies in the pit of my stomach, making my skin warm and my thoughts muddled. I mean, of course, these things happen. Crushes like that happen all the time when people spend every minute of the day together, but I don't know why, but something feels different. Should I be feeling this way? Now that dinner's prepared, I should do something a little more productive than all this daydreaming. Maybe a shower would help. I don't want to smell like oil and chicken parm when I see Mrs. Vorheez. Oh, Mr. Vorheez later. Not if I don't have to, anyways. My boots crunch against the gravel as I step out of the mess hall and take in the crisp summer breeze. The sky paints itself hues of pink, orange, and purple, and my mind steadily returns to my thoughts. I was caught off guard when he personally asked me, of all counselors, to help him with tonight's bonfire, though admittedly I felt a swell of pride. It meant a lot that he could feel he could trust me with setting things up and taking care of the kids, even more so considering I'm the newest of the crew. I imagine it might have had something to do with my ability to mesh with the kids, but I don't care. Whatever the reason, I'm not gonna let him down. I find my way back to the counselor's cabin. Gathering a change of clothes and robe in one arm, I press my back to the wooden stall out back and wait for the others to finish. The sound of giggling can only mean one thing, and I can't help but roll my eyes. Eventually, the duo in question would step out, sharing a knowing look with me before it was finally my time. I enjoyed the heat and steam and scrubbed off the smell of firewood and cooked bacon from my body. I tie my robe back on, letting out a satisfied sigh, and I begin to head back inside. I find my pants and throw on my favorite sweater. I pat a big camp sign with a long sign before heading out, only making a few steps down the stairs before slamming straight into something solid. Ah! What the hell? Hi, Jason! I look up, rubbing my nose, and I feel my face turn bright red. Of course I run straight into Jason. It's what I get for not paying attention. I shrink a bit and roll my lips into a thin line. Mr. Vorheez, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I could tell. You're lucky you didn't trip. You could have sprained something. I mean, heck, I was already falling for you, so heck, it doesn't really matter. I find myself mentally sighing. Now he's scolding me. I didn't need him to speak to know what kind of tone he was adopting. I give a sheepish smile and sign back to him. Don't wish ill on me now. I have dinner all set up. I know you say you needed some help. I was surprised you didn't ask Fern or Kevin for help. They're better at the tents than I am. Jason's gaze stays lingering on me for a moment. He shifts, silently in thought before returning his focus back. Fern is busy setting up the kayaks on the boat rack tonight. As for Kevin, his hand stills and blue eyes shift to the ground. This is a familiar face, and he makes it a lot where Kevin is concerned. It is Kevin after all? Oh my god. Well, Kevin is Kevin after all. Not to mention he can't do a square knot to save his life. I'd be terrified to sleep in whatever tent he pulls up. It's faint, but the counselor can't help but grunt out pleasantly. His arms cross against his broad chest, nodding in confirmation before raising a hand to sign freely. You wouldn't be the first to say that. Plenty of the kids have been victimized by Kevin's tents. Tonight, the campers will be able to sleep soundly with you helping them. It's hard to stop the smile from forming at the corner of my lips, rubbing the side of my neck sheepishly. I'm grateful. He's too preoccupied gathering all the sports equipment. It would have been an instant death had he seen the flush on my cheeks. My hands found my face, rubbing at the heat I had felt, before joining him as I walked towards the campsite area. On my way, Jason is quick to sort equipment on his designated rack, clapping the dust off his hands in completion. So, lead the way. Is there anything in particular you want me to start with first? With ease, Jason collected all the tent equipment in one arm, biceps flexing with impressive strength as he hoisted it onto his shoulders. He noticed my eyes lingering a second too long, but it doesn't bring attention to it. He hands me a box of snacks, all the trappings of s'mores and Vienna sausages, and cants his head to the side in a motion that follows after him. It's your choice. These are the larger tents, since it's easier to keep the kids in groups. They've been complaining about noises. The easier I can see them, the better. If you want, feel free to start a bonfire now before it's sundown. Either that or get the torches placed for the trail. After that, you can help with the tents if need be, and we can get food handed out after. I nod, huffing as I struggle to keep up with his long strides, especially with 50 pounds of food sitting on my hip. Once I arrive at the campsite, bare bones are ready to be set up. I know exactly where I'd like to start. Trail torches, bonfire. Start with the trail torches. I feel like setting up trail torches might be a bit more important. I'll start with setting up the trail torches then. I have a feeling kids are going to want to spend all their time out tonight, and the weather's really nice. Jason nods in agreement, spreading out the tent supplies nearby. He jerks his head in the direction of the plastic container bin close to the scattered seating around the bonfire. All the materials should be in the bin. There should be oil in there as well. If there isn't, There are some in the kitchen storage area. Without much preamble, I get to work, heading over to the bin and piling the torches into my arms. They're a lot heavier than I remember, but likely has something to do with picking up 8 of them in one sitting. I feel myself stumble backwards a bit, and as I do, I feel the weight of my body tilt over. Sneakers catchy over our shoelaces and gravel. An explosive gas left my lips before that familiar feeling of strength took over. I had felt Jason's powerful arms pull me taut to his chest, and when I looked up, clutching the torches tight to my chest, I saw the familiar side of that hockey mask looking down at me, eyes full of concern. Maybe the torches might be too heavy. Want me to take over for you? We should start meeting like this. I could use some help. You can take me right this. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, I know this will kill me. You can take me right now. You can take me right now. His eyes behind his mask pierce right through me when he glances down at me. Unknowingly, I grin at him nervously, waiting for him to respond, but he doesn't say anything. I notice Jason goes to move his hand, which I assume he's about to sign back to me. Instead, I hear a weapon unsheathed from behind him, and a sharp pain overcomes my body. I feel a warm liquid oozing from my abdomen. He stabbed me! Jason slides the machete out of me, and my body goes limp on the ground. A pool of blood bathes in the soil beneath me. I can feel myself growing weak and tired. Can't believe he did this! To be fair, I asked for it. I died! Alright, let's go back. Okay, we should stop meeting like this. We should probably stop meeting like this. That should be okay. Just took too much is all. There's something of a low chuckle that's muffled behind the hockey mask, and it makes my body feel hot all over. With ease, Jason sets me back upright, adjusting the tiki torches in my arms properly before placing his hand to small my back in encouragement. I can't help but beam at him a bit, and I can't help but soften his gaze when I do, a gentle exchange of silent acknowledgement. He turns his attention back to stomping the stakes in the ground, already partially done with the first tent, before turning to the side to sign me. I'll leave the oil canister by the side of this trail. If you drop that, well, fried chicken counselor for dinner? Jason pauses, stupefied by my immediate quick wit, and he finds himself chuckling again. I'll say. I'm on a roll, I think to myself, heading back up the trail and enjoying the lingering feeling of ice on my back. Typically, people don't really enjoy that feeling, but I guess considering that you're in love with a slasher movie killer like heck, I don't mind. It was a short walk, and fortunately for me, the trail used the torches plenty, easily finding small holes in the ground to plant each torch firmly into the ground. It took a little doing. I'm thankful that since I started working here, my legs have gotten plenty of workout from hiking and climbing with the kids. Any torch that gave me pause, I was quick to wrap my leg around it and keep it in place, grunting until it finally fell successfully in place and remained upright firmly. There we go. In record time too. I like to see Kevin make these torches so straight. There is a moment where I feel my entire body freeze, however, and my posture straightens up quickly. Goosebumps riddle my skin, making the hair on my arm stand up and instinctively spin on my heels. Gravel kick up at the sudden movement. I wait, listening for any indication of unseen eyes, any sound, but none. That's what happens when you only have coffee and some granola for a meal. I think I should head back now. I turn my back to the long trail behind me, shuddering as I shake off the last of the heebie-jeebies off, blissfully unaware of whatever was lurking in the dark just beyond the tree line. By the time I return to the camp, Jason's made quick work of the tent. I paused to take in the impressive feat, impressed by the sheer speed of producing so many quality tents in such a short amount of time. It was Jason after all. Should I be so surprised? He doesn't notice me at first, but by the time he does, I've done more than already circle back to his side. He flinches a bit, but I only smile in response. Looks great. I bet doing lights out checks will be a breeze tonight with how many sleeping bags fit in here. That's the plan. I couldn't believe you've already done with the torches already. You really have improved quite a bit since you started. There it is. The swell of pride I've become so fond of. It feels like with every compliment on my complete task, I've come closer and closer to mastering the craft. Maybe I'd even reach his level one day. Still, if I had, maybe it wouldn't have been so enjoyable. After all, the learning process has been all the fun, all the memories that I've come to have with him. My hand brushed through my hair, smirking at a commentary of the head counselor. If I showed you all my secrets and my tricks, you might try to capitalize off of them. Is that it? I didn't think you had such a poor opinion of me. And just like that, I felt my ego deflate and my smile gone and replaced with a horrified expression. He must have picked up on it. and started to laugh. Laugh. Deep and baritone. It washed over me, and I couldn't help but stare in confusion despite my insensitive comments. That was a joke. I fumbled my signing a bit. I knew it! Anyway, I looked to the fire pit and let out a tired groan. Not exactly my favorite thing, if only because of the level of manual labor involved. It had to be done regardless. I stretched my arms above my head and planted my hands on my hips confidently. Well, even if no one likes to, setting up the bonfire isn't gonna happen on its own. Really? Why don't people like to? Well, not everyone is as strong as you when it comes to hefting up all that firewood. Even without seeing much of his face, I could read the confusion easily with his body language. There was a moment where he looked around, pausing in his work before canting his head to the side in understanding. So, must have been in respect to his strength. That made sense. I see. You're like a superhero, you're raised well, your body is amazing. I know saying your body is amazing is gonna kill me. You know that I'm still gonna say it. Your body is amazing. What's not to understand? Your body is amazing. Jason looks at me a little off guard and becomes stiff. Sorry, I didn't mean it to come off like that. Your body is an impressive sight. I begin to blush and feel a little awkward after making a comment. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Oh, it's okay. I thought it would have killed me! Jason rides up his sleeves and begins to flex his arms at me, making my face heat up. I can't stop my hand from reaching out and touching his impressive muscles. As soon as I touch him, a strong force hits my face and knocks me down to the ground. It was his fist! Oh, frick, my head! I look up at Jason, who now quickly bends down to me. I can't read his emotions right now. I don't know if he got mad or... I start to see double and everything gets blurry. My head hurts so much. I lightly touch the side of my head and bring my hand in front of me. Is that blood? I died! God damn it. Alright, you are raised well. Your mother raised you incredibly well. At the mention of his mother, Jason's composure falls lax and he nods. There was no taking away from the swell of pride that came with being the man his mother wanted him to be. It felt good to hear someone speak kindly of her. As his gaze settles on me, I feel my eyes on my face, and instinctively the blush races across my cheek. My mother has a tendency to be on the bad side of a lot of counselors. She's an amazing woman. She deserves to be seen as such. I think so anyway. And not in agreement. Thinking of the few instances in which Mrs. Vorheez and I have interacted, she certainly has an icy sort of way to conversate, but I didn't find her awful. It was easy to see that she was simply protective of her son, like all mothers were, and well, the other counselors, especially the girls, they weren't exactly subtle about the stares they gave her son when he was doing any form of manual labor around the camp. She actually really likes you. The comment throws me off guard. I feel the stupefied expression taking my expression over. This mother spoke about me? I know. Took me by surprise too, believe it or not. Not because it's you. Just because she's slow to warm up to others. You do a lot more than the other counselors though. I do admit that much. Does that mean you warm up to me too then? I'll see if I can help her more then. I do want to make Jason happier, so I'll see if I can help him more then. I'll have to see how else I can help it then. I'd like to have lunch with her sometime. Jason's eyes widen at that, nodding along with the idea. There's something delightfully innocent about his excitement, and it makes me smile a bit in response. I think she would like that. She can be a bit of a loner, but it would be nice to see her having friends. I wouldn't mind joining. I cross my arms across my chest, chuckling coyly at him, enjoying his eagerness, which was completely brand new to me. I'm not sure. It's supposed to be a solo relaxation day, right? You can't take my idea of treating her. That's uncool. The man huffs, crossing his arms back to mimic my stance. He isn't bothered by my laugh. In fact, he sees nothing wrong with it. Considering I'm her only son, and a favorite by proxy, we'll see about that. Any doubts I might have had before all but wash away. With a nod of my head, I take to pouring oil into the bonfire, carefully lighting a blaze with the lighter. I look to the sky, admiring the hues of pink and blues that came with the sunset. A solo glance over the head of the counselor as he started to line the kids up one by one, checking their belongings and getting them ready for the night. I rose my feet, moving to join him so that we could begin our night proper. Looks like everything's done. By the time the sun had set, all the kids had taken to their tents, sleeping bags in hand, and got to running around, enjoying the activities of the night. I ducked back into the cafeteria to get the menu for the evening, something every child, and even adults like myself, would look forward to. Fried chicken, drumsticks, 3 mac and cheese, and a side of veggie fries. For dessert, Jason had opted for apple slices, but there was no moving me when it comes to s'mores. It took some doing, but the night had gone so well. It was like he was willing to go along with whatever I recommended. I shouldn't let this go to my head. No. I think I like him a lot more than I realized. I paused in my walking, exhaling softly and smiling to myself, clutching the trays before looking out to where Jason had been. A few of the children had gathered around him, watching with anticipation as he showed them the proper way to sharpen a stick for them to roast their marshmallows on. Even with full bellies, the moment dessert was mentioned, they were ready for more. It was adorable, seeing him mesh so effortlessly with the kids, especially given his age and sometimes brash temperament. I head over, waiting until most of the kids were settled before breaking their concentration. Drumroll? No drumroll, guys? I might have to eat these all on my own. Marshmallows! Gimme! Gimme! Can I have 2? 3? Please, Lion? I laughed a bit, feeling a small hand tugging at my cargo shorts and pulling me off balance for a bit. Once I gathered a crowd, I found my gaze traveling upward and locking eyes with the head counselor, who he was giving me such a look so new and intense, I thought my heart would fly out of my throat. I swallowed, the tug of hands pulling me back to reality. I'll tell you what, the one who sits the most still and doesn't blink gets 3 marshmallows off the bat. Ready? It took a little effort to corral them all, but once the marshmallows went onto the sticks and the kids all had their chocolate and graham cracker set up, I finally found time to sit down. An explosive, tired little raspberry blew past my lips as I had my 5 marshmallows lined up, ready for building when a shadow loomed overhead of me. My gaze looked upwards, smirky as the head counselor took his seat beside me. Eyeing my stick and its contents, I could sense the judgment. I built the first, placed the sticks between my thighs, and popped it into my mouth to sign him. What? Isn't 5 excessive? Never! It's hardly enough! You can't go camping without s'mores! It's practically illegal, you know? Jason rolled his eyes, building his own s'mores and sliding it beneath his mask, patting the crumbs off his shirt. I didn't notice the way his eyes lingered on my marshmallow collective, only on the day's happenings and the kids conversing around the bonfire. He moved closer, scooping up the melting marshmallow and brushed his hand across the top of his knee and thighs. I choked on the s'mores, pounding on my chest before swiveling my head to look at him, locking in another intense look once again, although this time he seemed perfectly aware of the effect his eyes had. It could have burned you, you know? Here. I looked at the paper plate he had offered me, but I was quick to return back to those crystal blue eyes of his. I chewed slower, blinking before looking away shyly with a chuckle. Once I got rid of the dessert in my mouth, I transferred the marshmallows onto the plate, signing with my free hand. Thank you. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed these. Maybe since the last time I was at camp myself, actually. This is my first time, actually. What? There's no way! If you grew up here, you had to have the chance once or twice. Do you not like them? There's a moment of silence between the two of us. I feel my stomach knot because of it. It looks down to the bonfire. I move when one of the kids take to running down the trail. My brows knit tight in concern. Jason? I wasn't exactly popular with the other kids. I was bullied often. It was easier to be by myself than to be around other kids. Sometimes, around the other counselors, it still feels that way. Stupid, considering I'm a grown man now. Oh well, I apologize. You didn't ask for a sob story. In an instant, I felt my heart sink like a ship. As I watch him now, the nonchalance in his admittance, I feel an urge rise up inside of me. I could chase it, I tell myself, or I could let him be. Maybe he didn't need to be smothered. I didn't want him to feel like I was pitying him, but what if? Link your fingers together, scoot closer, rub his back. I did not link my fingers the last time, so I'm gonna try that. It takes a moment or two, but I follow my instinct to move a little closer, linking my pinky finger first with his settled against the top of the log. It's a simple, intimate gesture, but one that doesn't provoke a strong response out of him outside of a jarring flinch to the stimuli of my hand to his. In fact, his attention turns entirely to me. I feel my hurt for him hit all the more stronger. How could someone be so cruel to someone so kind? Kids can be cruel. They didn't deserve to be treated like that. I'm really sorry, Jason. I hope you never have to feel that way again. If you do, you can talk to me, alright? Though he cannot process the way he felt at words in a way I knew off the bat, I could tell by the way he leaned closer that I felt comfortable with the notion. He's tickling me! His fingers felt at my skin. pressing against the mood ring I had kept since my childhood and refused to take off, investigating the texture of it before finally settling on lacing his fingers with mine entirely. Thank you. I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. I don't want you to feel like you have to be so kind and open. I'm kind to you because I want to be, silly. I would have thought you knew as much based off today alone. I really enjoyed spending time with you. If I could, I think I'd spend all of it with you if given the chance. After another long pause of silence and a look of disbelief before I cocked his head to the side curiously. I didn't think today was special, other than it being a date maybe. But those are normal people you enjoy, isn't it? He said, what? I feel myself get lightheaded almost immediately, stammering aloud before smiling widely, the way one does when they're absolutely nervous as hell. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did anyway. Of course I did. Jason nodded, slipping his hand free of my own and planting both of them on the top of his knees. There's a look of relief in his eyes before playing off the nerves to admitting his scheme of isolating me on a date. He doesn't mind that the silence is a bit awkward. He's basking in the moment all the same of our shared enjoyment. I'm glad, Lion. I don't think I would have wanted to spend it with anyone else. My hand rolled into his palm quietly as the night goes on, and all the while my eyes never once left Jason's arm. I watched as he took to getting the kids tucked in, assuring them that whatever shadows that they had seen on the trail were their imagination before sending them off to bed. I picked up the toys and scattered marshmallows covered sticks to deposit in the chipper. So, it was an actual date? He called it a date. Instantly I had my hand slapping at my face, groaning when the familiarity of heat raced across my face. I drew my knees to my chest, huffing tiredly as the entire day's activities were picked apart one by one, all circling back to him. Something inside of me almost felt upset that this was a date, considering how deep in I was becoming. Surely a date would end in a kiss, wouldn't it? Oh, the mere thought sent my head spinning. I found myself ashamed. Jason wasn't someone that just ran ahead, kissing and sleeping with whoever he wanted. As for stupid, insensitive dip pose like Kevin. Ugh, why is this so... Ah, a monster! A monster! A shriek almost sent me flying out of my skin. Standing upright so fast, I nearly felt all my weight topple over the other side of the log. I found stability, funnily enough, in a child who tossed themselves into my arms. Tears and snot soaked up the pant legs of my khakis, and before I could get a word out, the child gripped in fear at my shirt, pulling me down in a frenzy. Lion, come quick! I saw it by the lake! It almost take my face off! You gotta slow down, okay? Take a deep breath for me. It took watching me to do it, as I fell into a crouch and calmly held the child in place, breathing deep for him to follow. He nodded in a pout and tried to stabilize his breathing. We repeated the process for a moment, and finally, after a couple of minutes, I was able to speak coherently past his hiccuping and nerves. Donna, Mabel dared me to throw a rock at it in the woods. I didn't say no, it was a monster. I heard it. You took all of our sleeping bags. But why aren't your sleeping bags in your tents, Marcus? You wanted to wake up to the flying fish, so we were going to sleep at a river. I nodded at the young boy. It might not have flown with Jason had he told him, but I could understand if anything. I rose to my feet and scooped the young boy into my arms carefully, turning to the woods with a big, heavy sigh. Jason was still gathering up the other children at the entrance of the campsite, so I'd have to handle this on my own for now. Determination took over, and with a firm nod, I looked up to the boy, sniffling and rubbing his snot across his pajama sleeves. Alright, Marcus, you're going to have to be brave for me, buddy. Can you tell me exactly where you and the girl saw the big monster? We have to get your sleeping bags, okay? But what if... Hey, I won't let anything happen to you, okay? If you get scared, you run as fast as you can. I'll keep the monster distracted. I'm a camp counselor, so you know what that means? The boy shook his head, wearing his puppy dog eyes proudly. I smiled at him, wiping his tears with a curl of my fingers to his cheek. I'm practically a superhero. Like Mr. Vorheez? Just like him. But he's a lot cooler. He has a lot more muscles than you. I felt myself deflate like a raspberry, pursing my lips indignantly. Kids really were cruel little buttholes when they wanted to be, I thought to myself. I smiled regardless, shaking my head a bit at the small boy. Maybe. I'm a lot faster. So, you with me, Marcus? The young boy gave a nod, and I returned it with one of my own. With the child in my arms, we both began to head down towards the path, looking side to side through the tenebrous dark, the pines forming a sea of trees that felt as if they had gone on for miles and miles. I felt a shudder run down my spine at the idea of actually finding something lurking around in the woods, especially after all the stuff I had heard today too. Jason had said he never found anything, but I found myself in disbelief even then. There was too much noise, too much rustling and displacement in the woods for there to have been nothing. We have been on the trail for some time, and after 15 minutes, give or take, we heard it then at the same time. It sounds something heavily breathing, snapping branches underfoot with the weight of its steps. On a knee jerk, I slapped a hand over the mouth of the young boy who was ready to scream and threw us both behind the safety of a tree, sliding against it and falling into a crouch. I felt my throat lock up, sweating despite the cold of the late evening and feeling my heart hammering away in my chest. Okay, when I say run, you need to run. Okay, Marcus? Don't look back. Don't stop. The boy nodded frantically, tears pricking his eyes again, and the sound of heavy footsteps coming closer and closer. The more I listened to it, the more I recognized what creature it was. That wasn't a camper alive who didn't recognize the heavy growling of a grizzly. And while they had every right to be in the forest, it didn't make the fear of being attacked any better. They were still territorial, and they were camping in their backyard after all. My hand passed the ground, feeling for something that could be used as a distraction. Finally, I found purchase against a heavy rock, swallowing around the lump in my throat before peering around the trunk of the tree we both hid behind. At the side of the lumbering, massive shadow, I was quick to pitch the rock in the opposite direction of the camp, watching as the animal flinched and let out a ferocious roar into the night air. Color left my face, my body if I had a mirror proper to see it, I imagine. But fortunately, it took off running into the direction of the noise. It gave me enough time to push the young boy in the direction of the campsite. Go! Marcus wasted no time, nodding and whimpering as he ducked in and out of the tree line, disappearing into the night and towards the safety of the camp. My legs felt like jello, and I rolled my head back, exhaling shakily as I opened my eyes and took into the shifting expanse of leaves the tree canopy provided. Okay, Lion, we got two choices here. Go left towards the camp, go right towards the sleeping bags. I feel like I'm gonna die if I go towards the sleeping bags. I'm gonna run towards the sleeping bags. Should be gone now, and I know I saw those sleeping bags across the way. If I can see what the tracks look like, I can definitely confirm if it's a bear or not. I stepped carefully from around the tree, standing still for what felt like an eternity before the forest fell back into an eerie quiet and faint hums of cicadas I was so familiar with. The animal had gone a lot further than I had anticipated, but judging by my own careful, quiet steps, it likely thought I had gone. Good, I thought. I began to crouch forward a bit, quickly moving across the other side of the trail and tucking myself behind another tree trunk. A few more moments of absolute stillness and then I started to creep forward towards the sleeping bags. I don't know what these kids were thinking, trying to sleep out on here on their own, even without a massive scary thing running around. Yeesh. There was plenty of destruction to be seen, that much was certain. Claw marks and evidence on gnawing on any surface worth its salt, and what was left of the sleeping bags was scattered across the forest floor. I scooped what remained of what looks like Marcus's stuffed dragon into my hands and frowned, letting out a saddened sigh. Poor guy didn't survive a row of teeth. I'm not surprised. I think Fern knows how to sew though. I'll have to get this fixed up for him. If I hadn't been so on edge, I might not have noticed the sound of movement off in the distance. I snapped my head in its direction, staring hard until the sound of footsteps crept closer and closer, feeling my fight or flight kick in. My eyes darted around, settling on a heavily sticker-bombed hydro flask left by one of the kids, pulling it into my grasp before starting to shuffle back into the bushes, shrinking myself the best I could. I watched, ignoring the sting of sharp thorns pricking my thighs and forearm, and waited for what was lurking in the shadows to come. I saw someone kill somebody with one of these things in a horror movie once. I'm not going down without a fight. Whatever pep talk I felt the need to give myself, had this been a horror movie, surely it would have spelt my very certain doom. While I was hyping myself up to jump out at what's coming, it had more than found its way behind me, breaking a few branches as it passed the threshold of the tree lines and entered the area I had been hiding in. Remember springing upward, spin on my heel and swing openly with the hydro flask out before starting to plummet backwards onto my butt. With a heavy thud, I hissed, and blindly, eyes closed, let out poor attempt at a battle cry. I taste like poo! Back the hell up! My arms grew heavier and heavier, swinging in the air, waiting for it to connect when... Wait, why weren't any of my swings connecting? I cracked my eyes open, blinking away in shock when above me didn't stand a 9-foot bear, but an almost 7-foot man, none other than... Hi, Jason! How did you find me? The head counselor looked down at me, grabbing my wrist gently and pulling me to my feet before looking out at the dirt trail behind me. It took squinting to see what he had followed was my footprints. I planted my hand against my face in embarrassment, but all he did was chuckle lowly and start pulling debris free from my hair and clothes. At least if it was a bunch of concerned crying kids, it might have felt a little more important. I extended out the mauled stuffed animal, brushing Jason's knuckles as I left it in his hand. I peered out, looking to see if the animal had crept up on the two of us while he spoke, but let out a sigh of relief to see only the same brush and dark forest I had seen earlier. I moved to start walking, but before I could, I felt myself pulled into an embrace of the head counselor, and my face heating up for possibly the 100th time that day. Jason? He held the hug for a little while longer, allowing me to snake my arms around his form too in a comforting squeeze. I smiled to myself, pulling away and watched his hand wrapped. When Marcus got back, I thought the worst. I was worried about you. I smiled more. Well, it might have confused him. I couldn't help it. He was worried about me? My heart skipped a beat. I wanted to make sure the kids will be safe. I'm not sure if that means that, but at least I have peace of mind that those three aren't some animal's late night snack. Speaking of, I could really use another s'more. You? The counselor rolled his eyes, placing a hand at the back of my back and guiding us out of the trail where we'd head back to the camp. It was better to make sure the kids didn't spread any wild rumors based off a mountain lion or harmless bear cub. Oh well, more for me then. Anyway, that was the slasher dating sim. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to play this game for yourself, link to the game will be in the description below. Oh gosh, I'm not sure when exactly they're gonna be coming out with another update for this, but if it does ever come back into development, heck, I am so looking forward to it. One of the killers I'm really looking forward to dating is definitely Freddy Krueger, and well, I might be a bit of a Michael Myers fan as well, so hey, I'm looking forward to that. But then again, Pinhead. Oh god, I want to feel all the pins on his head. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the day. And as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.